Stories are the heartbeat of human connection. From ancient fire-lit gatherings to modern best-selling novels, stories are what move us, shape us, and linger in our hearts long after the last word is read. But for writers, one of the hardest challenges is this: how do you create a plot that captivates? How do you move from an idea to a structure that feels alive, magnetic, and unforgettable? This is where the power of prompts comes in. Prompts are not just writing exercises. They are keys that unlock characters, emotions, and worlds you didn't even know were waiting inside you. But today, I'm not going to give you just another list of prompts. Instead, I want to share with you what I call the ultimate storytelling prompt, the one prompt that can take a loose idea and shape it into a best-selling plot. Let's start with this truth. Every best-selling story, whether it's a novel, a screenplay, or even a short story, follows a rhythm. Not necessarily a formula in the rigid sense, but a rhythm of human struggle, conflict, and transformation. Think of Harry Potter, The Alchemist, The Hunger Games, Pride and Prejudice. Different genres, different audiences, but the heartbeat is the same. A character wants something deeply. Obstacles rise, the struggle intensifies, and through transformation, a resolution comes. So what if I told you that you could feed AI a single prompt that guides it to give you not just random story seeds, but fully fleshed out story structures that align with this timeless rhythm? The ultimate storytelling prompt is designed to do exactly that. Here's the essence of it. Act as a best-selling novelist and story architect. Create a complete story outline with compelling characters, a strong central conflict, rising tension, emotional turning points, and a satisfying resolution. Ensure the plot follows a classic 3-act structure, but adds surprising twists that make it fresh and unique. Present it in plain, vivid English so it feels alive and ready to be written. That's the core prompt. But the beauty is in how you adapt and expand it. Imagine you have only a vague idea. A young woman discovers a hidden power in her family. By itself, that's nothing more than a spark. But if you give it to AI with the ultimate storytelling prompt, suddenly you don't just have a spark. You have a map. AI might return with something like this. Act 1. The young woman lives in an ordinary world, unaware of her lineage. Her deepest desire is independence, but she feels trapped in her family's expectations. An inciting incident occurs. She finds a mysterious letter written by her grandmother, hinting at a secret inheritance. Act 2. As she investigates, she discovers she has inherited not wealth, but a dangerous gift. Antagonists emerge, rivals who know of this power and want it for themselves. She struggles, fails, learns. Along the way, she forms unexpected alliances, and her relationships are tested. Act 3. The final confrontation forces her to decide: embrace her power and responsibility, or reject it and lose everything. The climax is intense, but the resolution is both satisfying and surprising, leaving the reader with a sense of wonder. Notice what just happened. One simple spark became a narrative arc that could easily blossom into a 300-page novel. That's the power of giving AI the ultimate storytelling prompt. But let's go deeper. The best stories don't only rely on external conflict. They thrive on inner conflict. This is where you can refine your prompt to push AI toward richer emotional layers. Add this line: make sure the protagonist's inner conflict mirrors the external conflict, creating a theme that resonates emotionally with readers. For example, in the same story, while the external conflict is about fighting rivals and unlocking a family power, the internal conflict might be about her learning to trust herself and overcome her fear of failure. That inner journey is what makes the story truly unforgettable. Here's another layer you can add. Include at least 3 major plot twists that feel organic but surprising. Why? Because twists are what keep readers turning pages. Predictability is the enemy of a bestseller. The AI might then generate something like this. Midway through the story, she learns her grandmother is still alive. Later, she discovers one of her closest allies is secretly working for the rivals. And finally, she realizes that the true inheritance is not the power itself, but the knowledge of how to use it responsibly. These twists are not random. They emerge naturally from the character's journey and keep the reader invested. Now, you might be wondering, isn't this just formula writing? The truth is no. The prompt doesn't limit creativity, it shapes it. Think of it like scaffolding on a building. Without scaffolding, the structure collapses. With scaffolding, the architect can build something tall, strong, and beautiful. Another way to use the ultimate storytelling prompt is for genre-specific writing. You can adapt it by saying, act as a best-selling thriller author, or act as a romance novelist who understands emotional pacing, or act as a fantasy author who weaves world-building into the plot. This directs AI to not just give you a generic structure, but one flavored with the tropes and expectations of your chosen genre. For example, in a romance plot, the AI might generate obstacles like miscommunication, family interference, or personal insecurities that delay the union of the lovers. In a thriller, it might focus on ticking clocks, betrayals, and high-stakes chases. Same structure, different flavors. And here's a secret. You don't need to stop at one iteration. Ask AI to generate multiple versions of the same plot, each with different twists. Say, give me 3 alternative outlines, each with a unique climax and resolution. Suddenly, you have options, paths you can compare, merge, or refine. Remember, best-selling stories are not born in one draft. They are sculpted. The ultimate storytelling prompt helps you generate the raw material quickly, but the real artistry comes from how you, the writer, polish, reshape, and breathe your soul into it. But let's step back for a moment. Why do certain plots become bestsellers? Why does one story fade into obscurity while another captures millions of hearts? The answer lies in resonance. Best-selling plots resonate because they touch universal human experiences: love, loss, ambition, betrayal, redemption, hope. They echo struggles we all know in some form. The ultimate storytelling prompt works because it ensures your plot has those elements: conflict, transformation, emotional stakes. Think of Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. On the surface, it's a simple journey story about a shepherd looking for treasure. But the deeper theme, the search for one's destiny, the idea that your treasure lies within, resonates universally. That's why it sells millions across cultures. Or take Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games. It's an action-packed dystopian tale, yes, but beneath that, it's about survival, sacrifice, and resistance to oppression. These themes strike deep. When you use the ultimate storytelling prompt, you're not just telling AI to give you a story. You're telling it to build something layered, with external conflict, internal struggle, universal themes, and emotional resolution. That's what makes it bestseller material. So how do you actually use this? Let's run through a practical example. Suppose you want to write a psychological thriller. You might type, act as a best-selling thriller author. Create a story outline with a protagonist who is accused of a crime they didn't commit. Include 3 acts: setup, confrontation, and resolution. Add psychological tension, shocking twists, and an emotional journey of the protagonist learning to face their deepest fear. Ensure the ending is satisfying, but leaves a haunting question in the reader's mind. What you'll get is not just a random plot, it's the skeleton of a bestseller. And from there, you can flesh it out with your own creativity. Here's another example for romance. Act as a best-selling romance novelist. Create a love story where 2 rivals are forced to work together. Include slow burn chemistry, emotional obstacles, moments of vulnerability, and a resolution that feels earned and heartfelt. Add at least 2 plot twists that prevent the romance from being predictable. You see how specific and powerful that is? You're guiding AI to give you the exact building blocks of a compelling story. And remember, the magic is in your follow-up prompts. If the first version doesn't feel right, you refine. Make it darker, or add more humor, or make the ending tragic but meaningful. Each round brings you closer to the plot that feels alive. At the end of the day, the ultimate storytelling prompt is not about shortcuts. It's about clarity. It's about unlocking the patterns that best-selling stories share and giving you a structured way to create them. Writing is still your art, your passion, your voice. E inem helietesiti ast, chak felerositi. So if you've ever sat staring at a blank page, unsure where to start, remember this. One powerful prompt can turn silence into a symphony. One guiding question can take you from scattered ideas to a plot that has the bones of a bestseller. The ultimate storytelling prompt is your compass. It doesn't walk the path for you, but it shows you the direction toward stories that matter, stories that sell, and stories that last. And the real beauty is this. Once you master how to use it, you'll never truly be stuck again. You'll always have a way to generate new plots, explore new twists, and breathe life into stories that could one day sit on the shelf of a bookstore with your name on the cover. That is the power of prompts. That is the power of storytelling. And that, my friends, is how you create the foundation for a best-selling plot.